na Jenny na we will be setting farm and also fishing dyan sa Mindanao and Bohol kina Herwin.
Nag-start na po ako kuya kung ano yung possible na gagamitin sa garlic pa lang po ako nag-uumpisa. Garlic isa-isa lang po. Garlic pa lang po yung ini-start kong nire-research paano ba i-grow, how feasible it is here na medyo mainit, yung ganun.
Actually, mas mabilis yung yung paminta.
Yun nga kuya, naumpisan ko kasi sa garlic, pero I think paminta kasi may nakita akong paminta doon sa amin mismo, pero hindi, parang pinaakyat lang sa tree, parang ganon.
I-try mo tayo, bili ka na ng cutting para
Try ko po kuya.
Kung
doon mismo sa amin.
Kung tanong mo ko magkano para kung I can help na mali mo. Kung less than 2,000 lang naman, I can provide that para sa
Sure kuya, I will try to yun yung ko.
Kahit 10 muna, 10 cuttings muna.
Okay. Sure.
Before mga kate para
Sige
may reserve ko by February na yung
Sige po.
Yung pangalan natin dyan. Sige.
Good evening to our Sir Randy, Kuya Herwin, Ate Sylvia, and to our participants, 21 Days Divine Lecture in the 5th batch. And yes, good evening to each and every one of us. Yes, before we start, let us sing the Sunugo anthem. would like to request everyone to join me in opening prayer. 사랑하시는 하늘부님, 숭례하시는 전부님 사랑합니다. 감사합니다. Thank you once again, Heavenly Parents and True Parents, for this night, Heavenly Parents, that you've given us a chance, Heavenly Parents, to really study, Heavenly Parents, the divine principle, Heavenly Parents, within our 4 days, Heavenly Parents. We truly hope and pray that tonight, Heavenly Parents, whatever our lecturers, Heavenly Parents, that we are going to study, Heavenly Parents, we could be able to learn and deeply understand the heart of our Heavenly Parents and True Parents, Heavenly Parents. And really wanted to invite your divine presence to be with us, Heavenly Parents, so that we could be able really to really listen, Heavenly Parents, until the end of this session, Heavenly Parents, that we have. And through this, our brothers and sisters, Heavenly Parents, we could also learn from them, Heavenly Parents. Thank you once again, Heavenly Parents, for this night that you're given to us, as I really wanted to offer this in prayer and report in our names, according to the as a blessed couple. Jew. Jew. All right. Okay, yes, good evening once again, brothers and sisters, for tonight. Today, yes, I'm your host. Yeah, and I think may I request also every one of us could be able to open the camera so that also we could see each other. Yes, para naman makita natin yung mga yun, magagandang magaganda at mga guwapong pagmumukha, of course. And yeah, I think picture taking po muna tayo. Alam mo ba? Yeah, I think Monina will do for that because I cannot do it in my computer. So yeah, I think. How about Ate Anna May? Okay lang po bang?
Sira po front cam ko.
Okay.
Sorry po.
Sige po. Okay, ate. Okay. Ikaw na ba, ate? Hmm? Yes, wait for na po. Sayang sa ano ko eh. Yes.
Okay. 2 by 2 picture, brothers and sisters. Good evening pala sa lahat. Okay. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Salamat. Okay. Oh, isa ba? Okay. Vision 2027. Sungni, sungni, sungni. Again, Vision 2027. Sungni, sungni, sungni. Okay na.
Yes, thank you once again, Ate Monina, for that. Yeah, today is our 4th day, isn't it? Oh, 4th day. Yeah. So yeah, as we study uh in the we study about the chapter 1 of the divine principle in the past days about the principle of creation. Yeah, and yeah, I principle creation, of course, in the section 4, 5, 6, that in the last days that we studied. So we are in the about the original value, and what is the other? Yeah, the original value, the process of the creation of the universe and its growing period. And the last one that we study is and the incorporeal word and the corporeal word whose center is a human being. So I think each of one of you, I know you have the you have the good reflection. As also me, of course, as also the participant of the 21 days. Yeah, sino po ba ito hindi nakapag-reflection nung nakaraan? Meron ba, te? Is there anyone here na hindi nakapag-reflection? Hmm? Hindi. Okay. I think maybe we could ask, request Kami. Di ba? Yeah. Ate Kami, let's welcome Ate Kami for the last, the last part that we study. Yeah, just short reflection. What you could be, kung ano yung natandaan mo nung mga nakaraang araw na pinag-aralan natin. Just short. Yes, let's welcome Ate Kami once again.
Hello po, good evening. Good evening po. Sana hindi ako magputol-putol. Teka. Naman. Late. Okay na po ba? Hindi na po ako nawawala. Ayan. So again, good evening po. So, ayun, last Monday, so I had a hard time listening to the lecture because of our signal here dito po sa IPLC. But ayun po. But still, I would like to share some of my realizations of what the lecturers have discussed last Monday. Ayun po. So, one thing I realized during that lecture, so diba we tackled about the original value, and and also about the incorporeal world and the corporeal world, ganyan po. And then, one thing I realized is that maikli lang po yung buhay natin, di ba? Yun. Alam naman natin yung lahat, but then, kahit na aware ako dun sa bagay na yun, there's a lot of times talaga na I take it for granted yung konting oras na binigay sa atin ni God. Kasi, ayun, ang daming realizations, ang daming gustong baguhin sa buhay, pero palaging sinasabi sa sarili is, okay, bukas na lang ako magbabago. Mga ganung bagay. Okay, may time pa naman ako bukas para, for example, I didn't attend Hundoke today. Okay, may time pa naman ako bukas para mag-Hundoke. Mga ganun. I forgot to do this thing. Huwag ko na lang muna gawin tong bagay na to, tong responsibility ko na to, meron pa namang bukas. And kahit na ako sa sarili ko, aware ako na limited lang naman yung time natin, ganun. But I still take my time for granted. Pero ayun nga, in this short period of time na meron tayo dito sa mundo, I think it's not enough for, if I'm going to die today, kagaya ng nilagay ko sa reflection ko, if I'm going to die today, there's no assurance na mapupunta ako sa kingdom of heaven kasi I wasn't able to reach perfection or even to change myself for a bit after knowing about the divine principle. So, marami pa sa sarili ko na kailangan kong baguhin upon learning about the spirit world, the reality of the spirit world, the reality about God. Ang dami pong kailangan baguhin sa sarili ko, and I still look forward on learning more sa divine principle and to practice it, ganun po, to live in a divine principle way, ganun po. The principle of creation itong chapter 1, I can say na mas marami ako natutunan ngayon kasi Parang ang tagal ko nang hindi nakaka-attend ng mga lectures and parang nakaka-revive talaga siya, mas nadadagdagan yung mga realizations ko. Hindi lang about sa mga ideas na meron sa divine principle, kundi yung kung paano nga ba nagbago yung life ko sa kung ano yung mga ginagawa ko na before. Ayun. Yun lang po. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you once again, Sister Atikani. Yes, thank you so much. That give big round of applause to Atikani for that very profound reflection. Yeah, actually, that after chapter one is a very important part of also of the divine principle. Yeah, even though yeah, sa mga lectures na tat, uh, madadaanan natin actually, may time na babalik at babalik tayo doon sa chapter 1. Yeah, so we truly hope na, yun nga, our daily life is determined how we could be able, especially na alam na natin yung divine principle, especially the principle of creation, so now how we could be able to yeah, use it in our daily life, knowing the divine principle. But now, yeah, are you excited for the next chapter? Pero yeah, I know that you already know the next chapter that we are going to study for tonight about the chapter 2. But for bago yan, I wanted to introduce first our lecturer for tonight, of course. She's a mother of four. She's the with EFD Region 10, and is also blessed of one. Is 360 million followers. Welcome. Yes. Kailangan yung mga kabay. Welcome. Na. Sorry. Narinig niyo po ba ako?
Topic ka kanina, te.
Okay, once again, let us okay. Sorry for the technical problem that I have. But okay, and once again, I wanted to welcome our lecturer for tonight, Ate Sylvia Humilo de Opera. Let's give
Thank
her
you
some
so
applause for the
much,
sisters.
Ate Jinky, for that very generous introduction. Thank you. So, good evening, my dear brothers and sisters. How do you do today? O, pero pwede ka Bisaya. Hindi naman kasi pwedeng Bisaya, no? Bisaya na lang sana para madali. Anyway, thank you so much for being with us tonight, for joining the 21 days. I know we will be studying together once again the divine principle, since I know that everybody knows about it, but yeah, we will restudy again. Restudy again pa. Okay? So let me share your screen first. My screen, I mean. Wait a minute. Huh? Is it? I hope this is it. Oh, no, sorry. Where is it? Hala ka dya. For a while. Okay. Huh? Joker. Rescue. Halaka. Wait a minute. Kay wala diha diri. Maala gid ni karon. Halaka. Gion. G. Gion na. For a while, again, I'm having my
While waiting to direct.
okay. That's it. Thank you. So, ibang klase talaga, no? Pagka medyo techie. Diyos ko, Lord. What's this? Sorry. Over talaga to, G. G na. Okay. So, this is it. Good evening once again, brothers and sisters. Pasensya na dahil sobrang galing ko talaga dito. Palakpakan ko sarili ko. Joke. Hindi. So, yeah. Once again, I would like to remind us na itong pag-aaralan natin is, of course, a review. But I hope along the way we can learn together. Yeah. Then, as our moderator said, it was very important for us to understand the chapter 1, the principles of creation, because it is the very blueprint of God's or the eternal idea of God's creation that we all human beings has to fulfill or realize. But then, of course, we knew that it did not happen because of the human fall. So, ito na, pag-aaralan natin to together, no? So, lahat tayo originally as it is being described in chapter 1 that we are made in God's image. Therefore, human beings are the individual embodiment of truth, the God in image, and plants, animals, and all creation are the individual embodiment of truth ni God in symbol. Okay, so why is it that I am trying to emphasize that? Because this has something to do with the thing that we're going to discuss further a little bit. So since we are God's individual embodiment of truth and symbol, we are originally made by God in His image man. So we also have our original mind. And this original mind, itong original mind na ito yung nag-guide sa atin for us to do goodness. Okay? We always wanted to pursue goodness. However, without us being aware of or knowing it, we are driven. We seem to incline to do something that is not good. We seem to be driven to by evil forces to perform evil deeds, which we do not want, of course. Sino bang gusto dito maging masama? Wala naman siguro, no? We always wanted goodness. However, hindi natin maiintindihan why is it that we are driven to do there seems to be evil forces that's driving us to do evil deeds. So, in Christianity, we had understood, since we are all believers, na ang pinakang maestro, pinang master of these evil forces is known as Satan. So, pero kilala ba natin kung sino si Satan at ano si Satan? So from here, we can then, there is a need for us to understand or to really try to discover ano ba talaga ang root of evil. And then, also here, we can, for that, if we can know the root of evil, we can then somehow end sinful history. And we who had known, I should say, we know the truth, we know the principle, should be able to usher, tayo yung maging gabay to end, towards the era of goodness. So we must first expose, together, should be able to expose the motivation and the origin of Satan. And we should be able to recognize as well the destruction he has wrought upon human life. So dito natin maintindihan. So, dito sa human fall, all these issues will be clarified. Okay, so yeah. So now we have to study the root of sin. So lahat tayo, kahit Kristiyano tayo, kahit na somehow we knew na we have original sin. However, we do not know what this root of sin really is. And then in the Bible, we have learned that somehow the original sin is Adam and Eve's eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And then we seem to understand na prior to knowing the principle, we seem to understand the fruit of that the fruit was just an actual tree. Pero ang tanong, talagang actual fruit of a tree ba talaga ito? Ito yung ating i-discover together. So, kung itong tree na ito is just an ordinary tree, fruit of tree, just like we know it is an apple, would God, who is a loving parent, who is a God of love, make a fruit that could cause humans to fall? Do you think so? Would he make that fruit so attractive and so it could cause human beings to fall? Would he place it where his children could reach it so easily? So just like, kasi maraming mga bata dito, have you ever heard, kasi God is a parent, okay? So para mas ma-elucidate natin, mas madali nating maintindihan. Narinig nyo ba ang mga tatay, nanay nyo na, okay anak, ito ay, for example, this is poisonous. Do they put this poisonous or dangerous thing just very easy for you to reach when you were young? And even right now, yung mga malalaki na kayo, you're only teenagers. Meron bang mga parents na ganun? I don't think so, no? So all the more with parents na parents always want the best for their children. So they cannot just afford to test their children for something, for the obedience or for the loyalty of their children towards them by simply putting something enticing but very dangerous or could cause death at all. I don't think so. So yeah. So pag-aralan pa natin further what is this all about. Ano ba talaga itong fruit of tree? So kung itong tree, ang fruit of tree na ito, kung simpleng apple lang ito, I wish I can just read your chat box, no? Pero since naka-full screen ako, hindi na lang. Pero Kung ordinary fruit lang po ito, would this fruit become a cause of the original sin which can be transmitted to one's descendants? Kung ordinary fruit lang ba ito, would it cause the original sin of people? Kung apple talaga to, bakit ang apple, di ba, kung something that you're going to eat, madali lang ilalabas lang yun. Pero bakit kaya naging naging dahilan siya ng original sin? Also, kung ordinary fruit lang ito, would it test human beings so mercilessly na magiging cause siya ng death? Again, no? So, hindi talaga siguro siya ganun. And also, Adam and Eve, who has been on the Garden of Eden, on the process of growing, they actually risked their lives and disobeyed God only to obtain, to be able to have a taste, a bite of this fruit, like some delicacy. Parang hindi talaga, no? So, it's so illogical to think na it's just an apple or an ordinary fruit. Therefore, we can surmise from this na the tree of the knowledge of good and evil could have not been an ordinary fruit at all. Rather, it must have been something that is extraordinarily stimulating, that even the fear of death did not deter them from grasping it. So, sa explanation natin ito, maiintindihan na natin yung fruit na sinasabi sa Bible is not an ordinary fruit, but rather it is something that is extraordinarily stimulating. But we have to learn further what is this fruit really is. So, yeah. Kung ano ba talaga itong root of sin na ito na sinasabi na fruit na kinain ni Adam at saka ni Eve. So, alam natin na in the Bible, there are so many things that is being expressed. Ika nga, there's some parts of the Bible that are described in symbol and metaphor. So, for us to be able to understand further what the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil really is, para maintindihan natin kung actual tree ba talaga ito, or kung ang root of sin is just the mere eating of the fruit of Adam and Eve, let us investigate the tree of life which stood next to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden. Yun na makikita natin sa Genesis chapter 2 verse 9, para maintindihan natin what does this fruit really represent. Okay? So, tingnan muna natin, iintindihin muna natin together. So, what the tree of life really is. We can infer from Proverbs chapter 13 verse 12 that the Israelites of the Old Testament looked to the tree of life as their hope. So, it is said na hope deferred makes the heart sick, but the desires fulfilled is the tree of life. Yun yung sa Proverbs 13 verse 12. Likewise, we can deduce from Revelation chapter 22 verse 14 that the hope of all Christians from the time of Jesus until today has been to approach and partake of the tree of life. However, it is written in Genesis chapter 3 verse 24, that when Adam fell, God blocked his path to the tree of life by stationing the cherubim with a flaming sword to guard it. So, bakit kaya kailangan pabantayan ni God yung tree of life with a flaming sword na hawak-hawak ng mga mighty na angels? So, from this, we can deduce that Adam's hope before the fall was the tree of life. And Adam was cast out. Imagine natin, after Adam and Eve committed the fall, they were actually cast out of the Garden of Eden without having attained this hope of the tree of life. So hanggang ngayon, fallen people is our remained, the tree of life remained a hope unfulfilled by us fallen people. So, ano ba talaga ang tree of life, mga kapatid? Mga kapatid. So, titingnan natin kung ano yung itong tree of life, ano tong tree of knowledge of good and evil. So, the tree of life symbolizes actually an ideal man who has fully realized the ideal of creation. So, kung balikan natin ng chapter 1, ano ba talaga ang ideal person? Ano ba ang ideal man? So, di ba, in the discussion early in that chapter, we knew that a person who has reached perfection, who have formed individual four-position foundation is a person who can be referred to as an ideal person. Diba? Yun. So, it does symbolizes then the perfected Adam. So, ngayon, naintindihan na natin kung ano ang tree of life. It is a perfected Adam. And then, on the other hand, the tree of knowledge of good and evil represents the ideal woman or the perfected Eve. So, siguro later, we will be discussing paano, alam natin na yung perfected Eve is the same value as that of a person who have reached perfection, individual perfection, thus inheriting the kind of heart or the love that God has. It should have been like that. Pero bakit siya sinasabi na tree of knowledge of good and evil? She will become a tree of knowledge of good if and when she would be able to, or a woman reaches perfection, or can inherit the value as that of God, who can form a four-position for the individual embodiment of goodness or value. Yun. However, alam naman natin na hindi nangyari yun. Kaya yun ang sinisimbolize ni Eve. Either she will reach a tree of knowledge of good or the tree of knowledge of evil. So the Bible refers to Jesus using the metaphors of the vine and a branch. Likewise, to give us a hint about the secret of the human fall, God provided the symbolism of two trees to represent perfected Eve, perfected Adam, and Eve. So sana you can go along with me. And although there were many trees in the Garden of Eden, God gave Adam and Eve instructions specifically about the tree of the life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He told them they were free to eat any fruit from the other trees, but they should not look, touch, or eat these two trees. So here, people, we have thought that in the Garden of Eden, we have thought of it as a specific place in earth. However, Father discovered, and he said that it refers to the bodies of Adam and Eve. It actually refers to, nasabi na natin, yung perfected Eve and perfected Adam supposedly had they reached perfection. So, when God told Adam and Eve that it was all right to eat the fruits from other trees, he was referring to the other parts of their bodies. This is a very important point that we have to understand, brothers and sisters. In the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve were growing up, as we know, as brothers and sisters during the time when they were still in the Garden of Eden. The tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil meant that this is their sexual organs of Adam and Eve. So bakit hindi pwedeng tingnan, hindi pwedeng hawakan, lalo't hindi natin pwedeng kainin? Because it is the actually it is referred to the sexual organs of Adam and Eve. So maiintindihan natin to further later sa ating discussions. So balikan natin ang tree of life is Adam and Eve. We have to remember, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil is Eve's the perfected Eve. Now, kasi marami namang in the Garden of Eden, marami namang characters doon, no? Hindi lang naman sila. When this human fall was what's this? Nung nangyari, bakit pinahirapan? Nung nangyari ang human fall that had deter in the realization of God's ideal of creation, marami namang characters doon, no? So as it is described in the Bible. So now we have to study then the identity of the serpent. So in the Bible we read that the serpent tempted Eve to commit sin. So dito makikita natin na in Genesis chapter 3 verse 4 to 5. Actually, Bisaya na lang na ako ha. Ay, medyo ano lang to. Sabi ng Genesis na sinabi nung serpent na actually, 'di ba, ang commandment ni God kay Adam and ni Eve while they were growing is do not eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? Pero ang sinabi naman ng serpent pala, sabi niya din sa Genesis chapter 3 verse 4 to 5, sabi niya, actually hindi kayo mamamatay, sabi niya. Rather, you will become like God. You will know what is good and what is evil. Yan. Shortcut na yon, marang summary na yon sa Genesis ang sinasabi ko. Hindi yun fully in tuto as is, it is being stated there. So, kung titingnan natin, nakakapagtataka why the serpent described in the Bible was able to converse with people. Alam naman natin as we have to go back in the chapter 1 na ang tao ay is a composition of both, is essentially spiritual. Mayroon tayong spirit body at mayroon tayong physical body. So we are spiritually in nature. We are spiritual in nature. So kung titingnan natin, if the serpent is just an ordinary serpent, paano kaya nagiging able yung serpent na yon to converse with people who are spiritual? And then, pangalawa, why could it be that it could have caused the full of humans who are, nakita ko. Una, bakit siya marunong makipag-usap? Pangalawa pala, is bakit nakakapag-cause siya ng fall of human beings who are spiritual beings? And then, furthermore, the serpent also knew the will of God, which strictly forbade human beings to eat the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Kung ordinary lang siyang serpent, ba't niya alam ang will ni God? So, ito yung dapat maintindihan natin. And another thing is, as it is written in Revelations 12 verse 9, it is written that the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, he was thrown down to the earth. Therefore, this serpent lived in heaven before it was thrown down. And also another thing, even up to the present, it can transcend time and space to dominate the human beings. Therefore, we can say that the serpent is a spiritual being. And this spiritual being is created with good purpose. Only that later on it became Satan. It fell and became Satan. There are no beings endowed with such characteristics other than the angel. So therefore, this serpent is actually an angel. As it is said in 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 4. The serpent is an angel. So now we can then understand na yung tree of life pala in the Bible is a representation only. And also the tree of knowledge of good and evil is also a representation. And another thing na na-discover natin, again, we rediscover that the serpent is actually an angel. So, what is the fall of the angel and the fall of the human beings? So, in Jude chapter 6 verse 7, we can infer that the angel fell as a result of an illicit sexual relationship. And also, in Genesis chapter 3 verse 7, we can infer that Adam and Eve's sexual parts were actually the instruments of their sinful deed. Ito yung pinapahayag nung ikinover nila yung kanilang sexual parts. So, here previously we have explained that both the angel and the human beings fell due to illicit sexual relationship. Ito yung naging kasalanan both the angels and human beings. Human beings and angels are the only spiritual beings in the universe who are capable of having love relationships. We can then deduce that the illicit sexual relationship must have involved the angel and the human being. So, hindi lang mga tao ang nag-fall doon sa Garden of Eden. It was actually, the angel was actually involved there. So, in John chapter 8, verse 24, Jesus said, "You are of the father, the devil. You can assert that human beings are descendants of the devil." Kasi paano nga ba tayo na magiging lineage ni Satan kung hindi alam naman natin na we can only have blood ties through a blood relationship. E paano ba nangyayari ang blood relationship? It is only when sa physical kasi mga na tayo, mga blessing candidates. So you have to really be very forward to this na ang fall talaga hindi lang ordinaryong pagkain ng prutas, kundi yun talagang illicit sexual relationship. Thus, it has resulted to blood ties to all of us na kahit hindi pa nga tayo pinanganak ng nanay-tatay natin, we are already sinners. We already have sexual, and we have already original sin. Paano ba ma-inherit? Paano ba ng human beings, paano ba tayo makakapag-inherit ng mga, kahit ng genetically, or katulad ng sinasabi na halimbawa na mana ka talaga ng nanay mo, ng lulo mo, ganon. Kanyang mga madaling sabi na maririnig natin sa mga parents natin or sa mga old folks natin. Paano ba yan mangyayari? By only eating of the fruit? Of course not, no? It should come from the blood tie. So, ganun din, maiintindihan, mas madali nating maintindihan na talagang hindi lang ang human beings, hindi lang si Adam at saka si Eve ang nag-commit ng fall sa Garden of Eden. Now, we will know the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Alam din natin na kanina, we have discussed na the fruit signifies the love of Eve. So, kung ang klase ng love ni Eve na ma-realize niya, yun yung mag-identify ng kanyang prutas. So, o kanyang magiging result. So, alam naman natin na in the Garden of Eden, Eve was yet growing. Was still, kumbaga, immature pa siya. So, while growing, yun yung time na she is given opportunity to bear good fruit by fulfilling her responsibility, by achieving perfection or inheriting the true value of God, thus inheriting the heart of God. That would be the kind of love that he is going to have or manifest. Thus, if he could reach that, he would have a godly love, thus making her able to produce good children. However, Eve was not able to reach that was not able to inherit the godly love. He was not able to reach perfection. Instead, she was able to form blood ties or blood relationship with the archangel, thus making her have that satanic love. And it has resulted as all, tayong lahat, with nagiging evil yung children niya, nagiging fruit niya, nagiging ang kind of love ni Eve was a satanic love. Thus resulting all human beings as them, the first human ancestors in the Garden of Eden had resulted this fallen world. So, paano ba yan? Eve was created in an immature state. She was to reach full maturity supposedly only after going through a growing period. But then, it was possible for her to bear good fruit, supposedly. But instead, he was able to propagate evil fruit through her forming a blood ties with Satan, thus resulting all of his children to inherit the evil love or the satanic love. And then all of us become the evil children. Kaya sinasabi na we are, kanina, na tayo ay mga brood of vipers. O ang ama natin ay si Satanas. So, it's very painful to accept though. Yeah, pero yun yung nagiging katotohanan. This is something that we have to really understand. If ever we don't have much understanding or we still have doubt, we have to pray harder on this so that we can understand really, it can really be able to discern how true this truth that we are bringing out right this time. So, accordingly, as eating of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil denotes that she consummated a satanic love relationship with the angel which bound her in blood ties to him. So ito yon, ng mga tayo na to, yung mga blood ties natin. Ito yung ating, tayo na yung kanyang resulta. So, we have to understand what the root of sin is. The root of sin, therefore, is that the first human ancestors had an illicit sexual relationship with an angel symbolized by the serpent. So, ang una talagang sexual relationship na nangyari was the relationship that happened between Eve and the archangel or the serpent. Thus, they multiplied Satan's evil lineage. So, yeah, ito yung nagiging ano natin. Ito yung nagiging result, no? Siguro na mention na natin kanina. Now, titingnan natin because we also have to understand na hindi lang naman isang fall ang nangyari doon, no? Dalawa yon. Si Eve, it is the illicit sexual relationship that has been formed between the archangel and Eve. Thus, alam din natin, since we know the principle, na later on, Eve also formed an illicit sexual relationship with Adam. Pero tingnan natin ngayon, ating pag-uusapan we have to study further. Ano pala kaya ang motivation of this, of the fall, which has been the root of sin? So now we have to study the relationship between the angels and human beings first. So angels were created by God prior to any other creation. So bago lahat, ginawa ni God ang hangin, ang light, ang ocean, lahat. And finally, the human beings ay meron ng ginawa si God na mga angels. God created angels to be his retainers who would assist him in creating and sustaining the universe, as is stated in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14. A servant, the angels are the servants and the ministering spirits. And the Bible also, in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14, it is said that the angels, God created the angels to assist him in creating and sustaining the universe. And then in Revelation chapter 22, verse 9, it is said that these beings are his servants. And then in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14, it is also being said that these are his ministering spirits. So the Bible portrays that angels honoring and praising God. So sila yung servants. So nag-honor, they honor and praise God. So because God created us human beings as his children and gave us dominion over all creation, we are meant to rule over the angels as well. So dahil tayo yung sentro ng creation, angels are supposed to be our servants at the same time. So yeah. Okay. Ano ba yan? So, yeah. So, we have to study further paano pala nangyari ang spiritual fall and the physical fall. So, God created human beings with two components, the spirit being or the spirit self and the physical self. The human fall likewise took place in two dimensions, the spiritual and the physical fall. So, kanina, napag-usapan na natin na Eve formed illicit sexual relationship with the archangel, and that was the spiritual fall. However, the fall which took place through the sexual relationship between the angel and Eve was that was the spiritual fall, and the fall which occurred between Eve and Adam was the physical fall. So ito yung dalawang klaseng fall na nangyari din doon sa Garden of Eden. Now, tingnan natin kung ano bang motivation of these two kinds of fall. So God assigned Lucifer to the position of archangel. However, after God created human beings as his children, he loved them many times more than he had ever loved Lucifer, whom he had created as his servant. So, yeah. Yun yung because it is, syempre, si Lucifer is in the position of a servant. Normal, di ba yung, halimbawa, ikaw, nasa bahay nyo, between your parents and his children, and maybe someone who is helping us, helping in the household, sino bang mas love ni God, ng parents natin, di ba? Tayo, yung mga anak nila. So, it's the same with the archangels who were created as retainers and ministering spirits and servant of God. And then compared to the human being. So in truth, God's love toward Lucifer did not actually change as it was in the beginning. It was the same before and after the creation of human beings. Yet he felt as if there had been a decrease in love he received from God. So yun yung akala ni Lucifer na hala oy Bisaya. Hindi I am less loved by God because prior to the creation of the children of God, then the archangel felt so much love. Wala siyang kasi siya yung we have to remember na yung si Lucifer is an archangel who has been kumbaga right hand siya ni God. Alam na alam niya lahat yung plan ni God. So, because of that, he felt like being loved by God. So, but then when human beings were created, doon siya naka-feel ng, ay, hindi naman ako kasi love ni God as it was before. Yun yung akala niya. So, Lucifer feeling as though he were receiving less love than he deserved, wanted to grasp the same central position in human beings. So, dito natin makikita na dahil sa pag-aakala niya na mas less ang love na na-receive na niya, gusto niyang actually kunin yung position meron ang human beings as he enjoyed in the angelic world. As the channel of God's love, this was why he seduced Eve. And this was the motivation of the fall. So, yun yung motivation niya. Gusto kong kunin yung position ng human beings. Kasi in the beginning, actually, ako sana yung pinakamahal ni God. But then, because of these human beings, parang nawalan na nakulangan yung love na binigay niya sa akin. So, I have to give that. Yun kanyang motivation. Why? He did try to seduce Eve to form an illicit sexual relationship with him. So, what was Satan's motivation in becoming Satan? What was Satan's motivation in becoming Satan? What was Satan's motivation in breaking our parent-child relationship with God? Balik na, no? Satan wanted to receive more love from God and Adam and Eve than Adam and Eve did. So had Satan tried to love Adam and Eve more than God did and love God more than Adam and Eve did, he would not have fallen. Instead, he failed this condition. So, actually, at that time, kung i-shortcut natin, since if we have to imagine that prior to the creation, Lucifer or the archangels had been very close with God. Kung at that time, dapat sana madali niyang ma-converse, makausap si God. But then, hindi siya nagtanong. Hindi siya nagtanong. He just concluded pinangunahan niya si God. So, evil is not to be able to love others more than yourself and not to be able to serve goodness. Again, evil is not to be able to love others more than yourself and not to be able to serve goodness. Nothing self-centered can be owned by God. So, dito, maiintindihan natin na actually, in application to our daily life, especially young people who is now aspiring to receive the blessing, who are already on the training ground to really reach perfection, I should say, to be is napaka-importante dito yung paano natin titingnan ang mga bagay-bagay from God's perspective. Had we have doubts or questions, we could actually ask immediately to our Abel, not among brothers and sisters. Instead, we should report properly. Here, dito natin maintindihan na proper reporting is very important because if we cannot have done it, then we cannot be protected by God. The same thing as what happened in Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Bakit sila nag-fall? Is because they were not, actually they did not ask, they did not report. So dito sana maintindihan natin how important it is to ask to ask questions or to have elucidation in your queries in the right person, not just with anybody whom we think can give us answer because maybe we think they knew the principle. It should always be the central figure that we have to consult, that we have to ask questions and get answers from. Kasi ito yung failure ni Adam at saka ni at saka ng archangel. To think very close sila with God at the time. So, same thing in application, we should be able to always report and ask to the right person. So, Father explained that the feeling of diminished love itself is not full in nature. So, yun palang parang mainggit tayo or parang makaramdam tayo ng ay hindi ako masyadong love ng central figure ko, ay hindi ako masyadong napapansin, is not actually fallen. God gave us all created beings the intellectual ability to compare. So they will have a desire to develop faster in mutual competition. Therefore, the feeling of diminished love itself is not fallen nature. So dito dapat maintindihan natin mga brothers and sisters, young people, kahit kami, no, na pagka nakaramdam tayo ng ganito na we feel less loved by our central figure or by our Abel, it should become our motivation to do better. It should become there should be, kaya marami, siguro naririnig niyo yung heavenly competition. That we should always aspire to do good and best for us to be able to receive that kind of love that we may see from brothers and sisters. Instead na mainggit tayo and gawa natin ng hindi maganda or magandang, pwedeng gawa natin ng, ano ba, pwedeng, ang madali kong masabi when we have that magpahaba og papel sa Binisaya o ano ba sa Tagalog, di ko alam nagpapalakas, parang ganon. Di ba merong ganon? Instead of having that kind of feeling, instead, we should always strive, do our best, better. It should motivate us to do better. Na if he is good or she is good in fundraising, I should assert myself to do better as much better than the other. So my leader or my Abel can be able to see me. Dapat ganun yung nagiging attitude sana ni Archangel. Sana nilove niya si God more or nilove niya si Adam and Eve more so that God can be able to recognize him. Pero hindi, yun ang ginawa ni Archangel. Instead, sinidus niya, nagsinungaling pa siya kay Eve kasi gusto niyang gusto niyang i-grab yung central position ng mga anak ni God. So, here, we have to understand that yung feeling of diminished love is natural, but God has given us intellectual ability to compare for us to have that feeling of diminished love, for us to be able to do better, to strive harder, for us to be able to be recognized or can receive more love from our others. But what was added there, that self-centeredness, Father explained, the self-centeredness that is evil mind was added to his feeling of diminished love caused by the intellectual ability to compare. So, kaya nga, we are taught here in the movement na kung nandito na tayo, since we are, sa Bisaya pa, nagpakaroon inyo na ta, andito actually, we are prepared by our ancestors. That's why we are qualified. Not because we're good, but because there are so many ancestors that had worked hard for us to be able to meet the Messiah or the truth at this moment. Pag pumasok na yung concept of I, me, myself, and I, yun na yung magiging cause ng diminished love. Kaya parati tayong tinuturuan na hindi ang reality ng ating ang ng sarili natin is very far from the reality of God, the spiritual realm. Kasi ito yung failure ng archangel na we were able to inherit. Then upon knowing the principle, upon knowing the truth, that is something that we should be able to overcome. So now we have to study what is the result of the spiritual fall. So Lucifer, who left his proper position due to his excessive desire, and Eve, who wanted to open her eyes and become like God before the time was ripe, as mentioned in Genesis chapter 3, verse 5 to 6, formed a common base and began give and take action, which led them to consummate an illicit sexual relationship in the spiritual plane. So, dahil doon, it's very scary actually, no? Because Lucifer's excessive desire, it becomes self-centered na she wanted to actually grab the position of God's children, feeling less love. Yun yung dahilan, kumbaga, kung bakit sinidus niya si Eve. And then, because of Lucifer saying na doon sa, sinabi niya, actually hindi ka mamamatay pero magiging katulad ka ni God, Eve's curiosity and his desire to also to become like God, even before the time is right. Ito yung nagiging base nila. Ito yung naging common base nila para maka-form sila ng give and take, and thus consummating the illicit sexual relationship between the two of them. So, yun yung nangyari, ang is illicit sexual relationship in the spiritual plane. And also, we have to now understand paano pala nangyari yung illicit physical relationship. Fallen Eve, after forming a blood ties or relationship with the Lucifer, actually na siya, na konsensya na siya at that time. Fallen Eve then seduced, nung nakaramdam na siya ng guilt. Actually, gusto niyang bumalik kay Eve. Then he seduced Adam. Eve then seduced Adam with the hope that by uniting with him, she could get rid in herself the dread and once again stand before God. Yung dread ng conscience niya, na yung takot niya na, ay, nagkasala pala ako. Dapat makabalik ako doon before God. Then, yung motivation na yun na gusto niyang bumalik before God, this was ito yung nagiging dahilan bakit nagkaroon ng physical fall. Adam actually at that time, instead nga then of reporting to God and asking God, God, ganito nangyari. Sinasabi ni Eve na siyempre siguro at that time, when they had formed a relationship with, hindi naman kaagad-agad nangyari din yun, di ba? Ang fall na yun, ang common base nila. Adam could have reported actually to God, but then hindi niya ginawa yun. Adam instead responded and formed a common base with Eve, standing in the position of the archangel. Siya na rin yung nagiging archangel, and they began give and take action with each other. The power of the unprincipled love generated in their relationship induced Adam to abandon his original position and brought them together in an illicit sexual relationship of love. So, hindi na-keep ni Adam yung kanyang position because instead of reporting to God na ito yung ginagawa ni Eve, na sinasabi ni Eve na dahil doon sa kanyang dread, yung sa kanyang guilt in herself, having formed a relationship with the archangel, gusto niyang bumalik kay God. Actually, Adam could have reported to God. Pero instead of reporting God, anong ginawa ni Adam? Winala niya yung kanyang position, iniwanan niya, and instead he formed a common base. At saka actually they have formed an unprincipled love between the two of them. Tingnan natin mga brothers and sisters na kung balikan natin originally, Adam and Eve are really destined to become husband and wife, or they are destined to become the true parents. But then, hindi nila masyadong, in the process of growing, hindi nila masyadong naintindihan, or hindi nila They did not practice absolute faith, love, and obedience to God's commandment, actually. So, paano na ba to? To dig into kung ano ba talaga ang root of sin and why did Adam and Eve had fell, first we have to understand that they disobeyed God's commandment. They, for not eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden. And second, they become self-centered. Yung sarili na lang nila ang kanilang iniisip, hindi na nila iniisip kung ano ba talaga ang will ni God. And third, they try to love self-centeredly. Instead of forming first love, achieving love, centering upon God, forming a love based on God, instead of achieving that true value of God, thus inheriting God's heart and love, in the individual level, hindi na nila hinantay yun. They form already love relationship centering upon themselves, horizontal na. Instead of having a vertical love relationship first, establishing it, hindi na nila inantay yun. Na sila. They already have formed that horizontal relationship. So, since these are the essential causes of the fall, anyone who goes along with them is on Satan's side. All fallen people have love and distrust and self-centeredness. So, kaya tayo, ngayon, tayo, prior to knowing the principle, it is very natural na, kaya nga, kahit sa present time, parang madali na lang magkaroon ng horizontal relationship because we are totally not aware of that responsibility that we're supposed to form. Balikan natin yung chapter 1, na dapat unahin muna natin yung vertical formation of love natin prior to the horizontal love that we could be able to form on our future spouses, supposedly. Yeah. Kaya ngayon, ngayon, dapat, brothers and sisters, we will be able to always become aware na prior to receiving the blessing, we should first perfect ourselves a vertical relationship with God. Thus, it can only be achieved by forming, balikan natin yung chapter 1, forming a four-position foundation centering on ourselves. We have to attain perfection of character first prior to receiving the blessing. Kaya dito, further, we will be discussing more ano ba talaga ang mga requirements at saka ano bang mga nangyari pa in the Garden of Eden that would make us be able to understand further what is this fall all about that had caused human beings a sinful be able to be in the part of the whole sinful history. And then, what does, later on, madiscuss pa later, ano pala ang mangyari? Ano, after knowing all this, anong mga kailangan natin gagawin? But anyway, to discuss further what is the section 3, I hope na may narantuman kayo. I will be giving you to our moderator since yan na, sabi niya, she will, kasi kami yung partner, she will be discussing to you what is the next section all about. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, that ends pala my presentation. So now, I would introduce to you the next lecturer. Of course, siya yung kapartner ko for this whole duration. And she is also blessed with Japanese. Siguro, Bisaya, Boholana, baka Jing, I'm sorry, I was...
Ilocano po.
Ilocano pala. Sorry, kala ko Bisaya. Marunong lang pala sa mag-Bisaya. So, she's blessed. Just recently, last year, no? Oh. And she is part of the UPTA also, the pioneers of UPTA. But she also is a participant of the 21 days. Wow. So, but brothers and sisters, please help me welcome with a big round of applause our lecturer for the section 3 of the chapter 2, Miss Jinky Dagumboy.
Yes, thank you po, Sylvia. Yeah, for that, as we study about the human fall actually and the root of the sin that we know, I'm going to, our last section, our topic, the last one is the power of love. Of course, I wanted to share first my screen. Ano to? Pakita na po. Okay. Alright. Yes, as I wanted to continue with the section 3, power of love, the power of the principle in God's commandment. So, it said that, mm, of course, as human being, yeah, God created human beings because what is the key of this? Yeah, what is the key of that? Why God created human being? Because of love. So now we are going to talk the yeah. I wanted to continue. Yes, God commandments: do not eat of the fruit. Oh, sorry for that. This is the first one. Although God created human beings based on the principle, He governs us through love. Accordingly, in order for love to fulfill its proper role, its power must be stronger than the power of principle. Yeah, as we just now we learn why what is behind, or what is the real truth behind the human fall, and what is the cause of the root of the sin. So human beings actually are created through the principle. So, and of course, we are meant to live according to the way of principle. So if it cannot be forced, inherited the principle word induce, parang hindi kailangan ano ba, induce or is in a person to debate the way of the principle and cause him to fall. So as we are we already know the root of the principle why Adam and Eve fall, because they didn't follow God's commandment. So I wanted to continue for that. Because the power of love is stronger than the power of principle, God foresaw that if they ever form a common base with the archangel, there was a possibility that they could succumb to the power of deviant, unprincipled love, and fall. To prevent this, God gave Adam and Eve the commandments that forbade them from relating with the archangel in this way. God also wanted them to enjoy dominion over the natural world by inheriting his creative nature. In order to inherit this creatorship, they should perfect themselves through their faith in the word as their own portion of responsibility. Ito yung how much the power of love is stronger actually than the power of principle. So as we see, as we learn that even though sinabi na nga ni God, right, na God gave already the commandments, but Adam and Eve still um, fall. So, and if the power of love actually is weaker than the power of the principle, then God cannot govern us. Actually, parang uh, people, I think, we are parang natural na sa atin yun, di ba? So, I think sometimes, is there an example of the parang example of power of love and the power of principle? Any one of you can, yeah, do you have in your mind na merong example of that? Parang sinabihan lang, di ba yun nga, like, example, our parents, they already told us that, for example, you really wanted to do something, pero parang gustong-gusto mo siyang gawin. Parang sabi natin, uh, ano na nga, binawalan ka ng, pa sa mga bata sometimes, ano ito, binawalan mo na ng pag umakyat kasi baka mahulog, parang ganun. But they really wanted to do it. Or parang, I think, na-curious sila. So, matigas pa rin ang ulo. So, they still do it. Then, what happened with that? So, So how we could be able to learn actually in this, how really the power of love really stronger than the power of simple. So, and it says, Yeah, here, God commands men to not eat of the fruit was binding upon Adam and Eve only while they are matured. When we talk about Adam and Eve, actually at that time, they are not yet mature. That's why there is the angel or the archangel that guiding them. Like let's say parents, right? The parents that will guide us. But so that's why there is also the big responsibility. Big responsibility din nung angel na nag-guide sa kanila. But by that time, yeah, yun nga, na-seduce si um, Eve, seduce Adam. That's why still how we could the parents have the big responsibilities. But sabi dito, but love only exists within freedom. So there is a possibility to fall. So yun nga. So if love, this is stronger. So parang ang hirap, right? At that time to kay Adam and Eve to avoid na to avoid the fall from happening. So that's why, yun nga, God gave the commandment that do not eat of the fruit was finding upon an Eve only while they are matured. So when we talk about it, actually, there is a time. Meron yung darating na time. But you need to wait for that. So when we um, like relate within our uh, yeah, well, of course now love will come. Yeah, but we just need to wait that God if we already at the time that we could be able to receive. For example, as of some of us here actually are um really wanted to receive the blessing to our to heavenly parents and true parents. That's why how much we could be able to really wait for the right time. When is the right time? But of course, before that right time will come, how we could be able to really make our life of faith, of course, in our also how we could be able to really fulfill our also responsibility what up now. And actually, I think that's only that for in the short yeah for short in the section 3. So when we learn about actually brothers and sisters in the this talking about chapter 2 about the human fall, but how I could be able to really understand, yeah, the important also of reporting, right? So yeah, then whatever happens, of course, when um at the I think marami siguro then we have sometimes have the experience na we have a lot of temptations within our yeah, I think yeah, para sa akin as I receive also the blessing. Yeah, before, yeah, I maybe yeah, there's a lot of circumstances that um maybe ups and downs within my blessing. But yeah, through knowing about the value of the blessing actually, it makes me realize how much important, especially at this time that we are living, of course, in the time, the precious time with our true mother. So yeah, how much we really understand the value of the blessing. And we learned for the yeah for tonight. I hope that you learn something. Yeah, in this chapter 2, in the section of 1, section 2, and section 3 about the human fall, the root of the sin, and section 3, how much we're able to take the responsibility. And I think that's all for tonight for the section 3 that we have. But thank you once again, brothers and sisters.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Ate Chinky, for that. So, yeah.
Yes, for that, yeah, I hope you could be able to learn something. Then, yeah, and yeah, so reflection na po tayo. I'm excited to, yeah, listen. Of course, we are excited to listen. to the reflections of our brothers and sisters. Isn't it? So, is there anyone who wanted to volunteer first? Yeah.
Or maybe if they have questions also ask.
Yeah, or any questions but that you wanted to ask, then yeah, we will try to answer for that. Yeah, and while yeah, I think you can drop also to our chat box there, so everybody can also read. And yeah, for now, I think let's go on for the yes reflection while yeah waiting for that question. Or you can yeah pwede pa kayong mag-isip kung ano yung mga gusto nyo itanong. I think mahaba-haba pa yung time natin sa ngayon. So yes, as of now, may I call ako na ba mag-volunteer or merong gusto mag-volunteer na sarili? Meron na ba? Or ako na. Okay, then I wanted to call on sino ba mauna? Tan-taran! Okay, let's welcome Kuya Patrick.
So, good morning, Heavenly Parent and victorious true parents, to our elders, brothers, and sisters. Good evening. So, about this lecture, I realized that really love is on, designed by God to be greater than life itself. Then, with it, I remember the a part of True Mother's memoir na what came first was love. Before life, love came first. Seeing it in the externally. Before we came to this world, because of our parents' love, we we were born. Then also because of love, God created the universe. So really, reflecting it with the world today, the world is really fallen nga. We can also see nga there are also people who commit suicide because they felt that lack of love. Like for example, those nga uh, yung hiniwalayan ng mga ganun nga kasintahan niya na. So because of that unprincipled love nga, they thought nga that is the love that that themselves really needed, without knowing the principle ng good. So I'm so very thankful nga I have the opportunity to learn the principle. Then also kanang the fall is really have this great impact bitaw to me, kay as I have more and more time here in the movement, I had this greater and greater understanding of the fall. After receiving the Divine Principle 7 days, Divine Principle seminar, I learned that the eating of the fruit was not literal, but it is the kuan, illicit sexual relationship between Adam and Eve and the kuan, archangel. And as I listened to the guidance of the elders, I also learned that the fall, it also meant that it is the artistic distance between Adam and Eve and God. Because if really Adam and Eve has this artistic connection between God, they would have the initiative to report there is something wrong. They would really keep that commandment given by God instead of kuan, following the archangel. So if they really are connected artistically with God as filial sons and daughters, filial son and daughter, they would choose to report Then lastly, as also kanang I also listened to Dr. Young's kanang panditaw guidance ng what he shared is that the fall also meant that kanang it is kanang when Adam and Eve drove a big nail into God's heart and reflecting about it nga kanang God really invested so much for humanity to kuan really prepare for us nga kanang he invested 100% or 120% of his power and energy, all of his energy, that he even rested in the seventh day. Then just upon this kanang short moment nga kanang though that really he is longing for that joy that he will receive from his kuan ba object partners, then nga to lang na that kanang that easily nga Adam and Eve fell nga. So I also because of my kind of fallen natures contribute to driving that big nail into God's heart. So really, this kanang lecture um, gave a reminder to me nga kanang I also need to change many things about myself, grow myself quickly, because this time is so very precious. While our true mother is still in the physical world, we really need to be one, grow quickly, and really unite with our true mother. Na. So this is just only the start. Okay. So many things to do to really contribute to our true mother's vision. So even though this is just just in my own individual lang ba nga kanang a preparation for kuan my or achieve kanang receiving the second blessing, but also it is also a way for me to at least comfort God's heart nga kanang even though mostly the population of the world is fallen, at least there are some people who think of comforting God's heart. So that would be all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kuya Patrick, for that beautiful reflection that you have. Yes, we always need to think what is the reason or ano yung dahilan kung yeah yung mga ginagawa natin right now. Yeah, preparation and everything. Preparation, of course, in receiving the blessing. As we always said, how much more fulfilling, of course, fulfilling the three great blessing, within within ourselves. And talking about the blessing. So and of course, we're going to with the next one. Is there anyone still wanted to volunteer? Or you wanted Ate Sylvia to ask someone? Or
I like Cami Garcia to kindly give her reflection.
yes, let's welcome Ate Kani.
Good, good evening, brothers, to our lecturers and our brothers and sisters. I would like to share my reflection po. Ayan. I have notes. Yun po. Dun po sa part na in-explain niyo po kanina sa section 2, motivation of the fall. So, bakit nga ba nagawa yun ni archangel. Bakit nagawa yun ni Lucifer? So, first thing nga po is, di ba, feeling niya, hindi na siya mahal ni God. Yung ganun po na feeling. Wherein, totoo naman is, hindi naman nabawasan yung love ni God sa kanya. Nagselos siya. Yun. He felt jealous towards Adam and Eve. Di ba po? Then, na-realize ko na, sometimes, ganun tayong mga tao na nagsiselos tayo sa kung anong meron yung ibang tao. So, I just realized na we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to other people sa kung ano man yung nare-receive nila na love, sa kung ano yung nare-receive din natin na love. Or minsan kina-compare natin yung sarili natin, yung worth natin, ganun. So, isa pa sa na-realize ko is, dapat i-compare natin yung sarili natin sa kung ano tayo before, hindi doon sa kung anong meron yung ibang tao. So, kasi gano'n ako before mabilis akong magselos kanya sa kapatid ko or sa kung ano mong meron yung mga friends ko. Though kinikip ko yung sa sarili ko. Pero yun, but then I realized na I shouldn't be comparing myself to other people but only to what I was before. Hindi lang doon sa bagay na kung anong meron, hindi lang doon sa mga bagay na nare-receive ko, but doon sa mga bagay na kaya kong gawin, sa mga abilities ko, ganun. Though, your father said na, it is our intellectual ability. It is our intellectual ability to compare, but then, hindi dapat tayo mag-focus dun sa sarili lang, me, myself, and I, dun sa self-centeredness, dun sa motivation ko, dun sa reason kung bakit mo kino-compare sarili mo or bakit ka nagsiselos, ganyan. So, another thing po is yung, gusto ko ring i-share is yung about sa root of why Adam and Eve fell. So, first is yung disobey God's commandment, self-centeredness, love, self-centeredness. Yun po. So, kapag ganun, nung narinig ko po yun ngayon, yung lecture niyo po about sa root why Adam and Eve fell, na-realize ko na, parang meron ako ng lahat ng yon. So, it's true na, ayun nga, I'm on Satan's side. Disobey God's commandments, self-centered, ayun po. So, I have to overcome those, ayun po, being disobedient and being self-centered. Kaya pala, in our training, in doing fundraising or in other activities, our leaders, or we call them captain, or our leaders, they always give us internal guidance na always follow, be filial, ganyan, na always obey, ganun. So, yun pala yung it's also part ng parang training sa amin ng mga young ones na matutong mag-obey. Ayun po. And yun lang po wala. Thank you so much.
Alright, thank you once again, Ate Cami. Yeah, as Ate Cami said that how much we have the absolute faith, of course. Yeah, within our heavenly parents and true parents, and also absolute faith. As also, yes, as we every time listen to the guidance of our leaders, how much we have the absolute faith, absolute obedience. Yeah, whatever, kahit minsan we thought that, hindi naman yan, anyway, parang minsan napipilitan tayo, but we always need to think how much, parang ano lang yan, parents, they know actually what is the best of us, but how much we have that kind of absolute always follow and follow. So I think we have question here from Christinette. Sabi niya, sabi niya po dito, what if, I think hindi yata nakalagay sa chat box, but she sent to me. So said, what if po di nag-fall si Adam and Eve? Is it possible po ba na mag-fall ang next generation? So, for our lecturers, want to answer po for that question?
Okay,
Sylvia?
thank you for that very profound question, Christinette. So, if we recall in chapter 1 that if a person reaches can form. Kasi yung ating purpose of creation is to fulfill the three great blessings. Okay? Have to remember that. And then the first blessing is to reach maturity or be fruitful. Kaya ko i-discuss to kasi I want you to think as well together with me. Okay? And all of us. Na yung purpose, yung kung bago ko i-answer yun from my own point of view. Gusto ko ibalik tayo dun sa chapter 1 na yung first blessing na para malaman natin kung ano yung value natin. At para mas maintindihan natin bakit si Eve, tree of knowledge of good and evil. Balikan muna natin to yun, ha. Ang first blessing is for us to reach perfection. Paano ba natin ma-reach ang perfection? Paano ba natin ma-inherit, ma-determine, and ma-reach yung true value natin? It is only through having ourselves form a God who is, how do you say it? Has reflected His dual characteristic in us through our mind and our body. We have to achieve that unity between mind and body centering upon God, thus making us a perfected individual, of which that is what Jesus Christ had achieved. Kaya siya yung nagiging unang perfected being, human being, okay? Na sinasabi natin siya is the only begotten Son of God. Bakit and then when we have that, we have to remember na, kasi alam natin na lahat ang principle, na if a person who has reached individual perfection, I should say, of character, should have been able to inherit the kind of heart God has, the same value as that of God. Yun. So therefore, when we have that kind of character, we can understand, therefore, the wishes of God. We can therefore become a filial son of God. And then it does not only has to happen only in a man, but also in a woman. That would qualify us to somehow, this is supposedly Adam and Eve, sila yung magiging original parent ng human beings. Kasi sila yung gisulti dito sa Bible, okay? And then only when they were able to reach perfection individually, they will then now qualify to reach the second blessing. So they can form a horizontal relationship centering upon God, thus procreating good children. Yan, supposedly now. Ang tanong mo, mag-fall pa kaya ang second generation? If Adam and Eve did not fail, I should say, hindi na. But at the present moment, I should say na because Adam and Eve fell, there is a great tendency that the second generation can fail. Do you know why? Do you want to ask me why? It is because the environment has a great contribution to the possibility of this young generation, the second generation, to fail. Because what they see, people, human beings as we are, who had inherited blood ties with Satan, actually, lahat na nakikita natin sa mundo has been prepared by Satan. And it is not this is not the original ideal of God. And we tend to think, because this is what we see, that maybe this is the reality. That's why, because we feel ignorant to the reality of God. Actually, yung sinabi ni Patrick na actually, Adam and Eve actually created a very huge artistic distance by not following God's commandments. Sila na nag-initiate, sila na they become self-centered. Sarili lang nilang iniisip na, yun din yung nagiging ugali natin. It is inevitable to not think about ourselves. It's very impossible to immediately very easy to say, follow absolute faith, love, and obedience. But practicing it, having it actualized in our real life is never easy. Because of the realities that we had been confronted with at the present time. That's why, balikan natin yung question. If Adam and Eve did not fail, the second generation is no longer capable of failing. Because at that time, of course, I should say, as a parent, as a mom, if I will achieve perfection, I should have the qualification to raise my children properly. And this is, if titingnan natin yung sinabi ni Father, time will come that what will happen, what will remain in our movement will just education and tradition. What is this all about? Na ito yung responsibility natin as future parents, as especially women. We have to really understand this fully. Na ito yung magiging, na nasa kamay natin actually, yung future ng magiging anak natin. You know why? Because yung magiging spouses natin, sila yung mag-plant ng seed, but tayo yung soil wherein we are going to nurture the future and the kind of children that we are going to have. That's why Eve is called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Again, I will reiterate. Had Adam and Eve did not fail, second generation has no way to really fall. But of course, they are not exempted to the process of growing. But I should insist, there will be no fall. Unfortunately, at this moment, it is very possible because of the realities we have here in this physical world. That is, we have inherited from Satan. Thank you. I hope you can learn with me and you can reflect more with me. Thank you.
Ay, yan. Thank you so much po, Ate Sylvia. Actually, mayroon pa siyang follow-up question po eh. Yeah.
Ano yun?
Follow-up question. Sabi po dito, and what if po nag-obey si Adam and Eve? It is possible na nagubuhat pa din po tayo ngayon. Yeah, the follow-up question is that.
Ano daw ate?
Wait lang po. Sorry po kasi medyo nag-lost connection po ako eh. Sabi po dito, what if po nag-obey si Adam and Eve? It is possible na naguhubad pa din po tayo ngayon? Yeah, we're not wearing anything. Just asking.
Ako pa rin ang magsagot. Sige. Thank you for that very nice question. I really like it. Thank you. I should say no. Kasi alam natin, balikan na naman natin yung principle of creation. Di ba three great blessings yun, no? Three great blessings. Sa ngayon kasi, kung i-observe natin, bago pala ako mabalik ito, na-observe natin na science has advanced greatly. Through technology, in a way, industrially also, so many things have been, scientifically, the world has been changing a lot. In fact, sabi nila, panahon na ngayon ng artificial intelligence, sabi nilang gano'n. So sa mga panahon namin, sobrang late na kami, parang behind talaga kami. But balikan natin yung yung principle of creation. Third blessing is to have dominion over creation. And alam natin na it involves, I think I had mentioned earlier na prior to my lecture na tayo is the individual embodiment of the truth of God in image. Tapos yung creation is in symbol in the embodiment of the truth of God. So as the Lord of the creation, meron tayong capacity to dominate, to enhance, to improve, and to protect creation. So kung tingnan natin, if science has advanced, even if we get fallen, balik ko sa'yo, do you think if Adam and Eve had not fallen, science would not advance? I think it would advance further, more than what we have seen now. Because as you see, dominion po yun eh. Shortcut na lang to. Dominion over creation. Meaning, tayo nung ginawa tayo ni God out of His love, binigyan niya tayo ng lahat nung sensibility niya. Yung intellect, emotion, and will. Binigay niya sa atin yung lahat eh. So yung nakikita o nare-receive or na-i-invent, I should say, with the scientists, the geniuses at the present time, hindi yan malayo na nangyari na long time before, supposedly. If Adam and Eve had not fallen. Because we have become one with the heart of God. We inherit the value of God. Therefore, whatever God wishes, it can actually easily resonate with it. So lahat ng bagay na nangyari sa mundo, not excluding the destruction, of course, because that is due to our ignorance. That is to make our life better, to make us comfortable, actually. It is God's inspiration, I should say. So actually, this virtual thing that we have to do is a manifestation na in the spiritual world, we actually can easily see each other even beyond distance. Actually, time and space and distances is nothing. In the spiritual world, we can just easily come and go. We transcend, supposedly. If our spiritual senses had not been severed, we can easily perceive actually the whole creation. But unfortunately, it did not happen because of our, yan sinabi ni Patrick, that artistic distance that we have created with God. With God. Na at this moment, sobrang far na. Sobrang, if Adam and Eve has this distance, hindi na ma-measure by, sa dupa lang, no? Bisaya, yung artistic distance natin with God. That's why we should be grateful with God, with our true friends, because without the true friends, we couldn't have had this opportunity to understand all these things. Na ganito pala, ito pala yung purpose of creation, ito pala yung fall, bakit kailangan, kasi alam natin, bakit kailangan nating may restoration pa, mga ganun. So there are things that we have to know that further. And yeah, kailangan pa nating i-restudy or balikan kaunti para mas palalim pa natin yung understanding natin. So, yeah. Hindi tayo maghuhubad. Hindi tayo hubad ngayon. Of course, we still enjoy the advancement of science more than what we have experienced now, I should say. Adjo?
That answer, Sylvia. I hope
it has helped you a little bit, at least. Thank you.
Thank you once again. Let's give a big round of applause to Ate Sylvia. I think mga lecturers natin, like, I think si Kuya Herwin meron pa siyang gusto sabihin. But bago yan, alam ko may mga gusto mo mag-reflection dyan kaya let's, I think, listen to the reflection first. I think, sino pa ba nandito? I think let's call on Kuya Vince Robel from Bohol. Let's welcome Kuya Vince.
5, 6, 7. So, good morning.
Okay.
Sorry. So, good morning. So, a reflection for the so chapter 2. So, I realized I have realized po na dapat hindi po tayo dapat maging remorseful kung anong nagawa natin para hindi tayo makaano ng ibang tao. Like ginawa ni Eve, imbis na doon siya kaagad mag-report kay God. Doon siya pumunta kay Dan. So first I'm really thankful for the lecturers sa tonight, and dahil na-clarify talaga kung paano namin ano yun, paano yung way para hindi mag-fall is to approach central leaders because they are the ones who have more prior knowledge for the and for the ano mm, um, we need to analyze ko pa po yung so chapter. So hindi pala yun na literal pala yung prutas and pati yung tree of life and pati na yun na rin yung serpent. So because that yung sa Bible pa ito nung sa bata pa kasi ako yung yung sa Genesis pa pag yung sa Genesis ang pagkakaintindi ko lang doon nagkasala sila Adan at si Eve dahil kinain nila yung fruit. Iwan ko ba kung apple ba yun o ano. Basta kinain nila yung fruit pero by the help of the divine principle mas lalo ko pang naintindihan kung ano talaga yung ano doon meaning. So I'm really thankful because para maging mas aware kami kung ano ba talaga kung para malaman talaga namin kung ano ba talaga yung motivation ng fall. So dapat we need to really ano yun, establish artistic relationship not only with God but other persons. So right now from the time that I received the divine principle, I'm really practicing to approach those people na alam niyo yung parang ayaw ko dun sa tao na yun tas talagang pinapractice ko talaga na i-win yung heart niya or ganun. I-practice ko yung win. Pinapractice ko talaga para para hindi lang talaga yung konsepto lang tayo diyan lang tayo sa konsepto kundi dapat din natin try to experience kung try to experience talaga at para ma-practice talaga para maging lifestyle na talaga natin yung principle. So yun lang siguro. Salamat po.
Alright, thank you once again, Kuya Vince. And let's give a big round of applause. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, as we know the root of of course, the root of sin. Yeah, knowing it actually sa when we are only talking about what kasi sa Bible, diba, it's just a metaphor. We couldn't really understand what is the meaning behind of that. Na literal ba talaga? Yun nga, literal na apple ba? So, as we know in the divine principle that this is not only as simple as like that. And we're talking about, about what happened on that and what is the real, meaning of um, that root of principle that the root of sin that we are, learning for tonight. Yeah, I think how much we could be able to really, sabi nga ni Kuya Vince, he's practicing how to love the person that he don't want to parang one of the principle of true father also is the love the unlovable life. So how much also we could practice that. And yes, thank you for that, Kuya Vince. And I think we call on one. Marami pa pala silang hindi nag-reflection. So I think excited na siya. So to give the reflection, let's welcome Ate Christinette. Yeah.
Thank you so much po. Good evening, lecturer, elders, brothers and sisters. Good evening po. Na-inform na po sa... But before I before I before I reflect, I just want to say thank you po, Miss Sylvia, for answering my question, because it is the parang nakasanayan na question po every my seminar po dito sa Bohol, and one of that question po is answered by our elders, but it is different now because it is more deeply, but our elders here is our center leader was answered like yours po, and I'm so thankful that you have the same question. I answer po pala, and I'm so thankful po. Thank you so much po. Then my reflection po is about the fall po. Yes, like Patrick said po earlier that Dr. Yong said po that the true or the main deep of the meaning of the human fall po is we didn't realize and recognize what had God's heart. What is God's heart po talaga? Because if even Adam and Eve po was fell, if we know God really who is He, excuse me po. And I'm so, po na, if we, the second generation, realize what God's heart is, we didn't, parang di na natin po dapat i-blame pa sila. Kasi we have our portion of responsibilities po, di ba? Tapos, ngayon, yun lang po talaga na di natin na-recognize or na-realize talaga kung ano yung talagang heart ni God, why He made the human beings po. And for me, this time that I know deeply what is the fall, and I'm so eager to realize how God's heart is by serving others for the sake of others. But it's hard for me to realize that in the outside world, kumbaga, sa labas po ng center, we have that community po talaga na it's norms for them that have this illicit sexual relationship po talaga. And I'm so like kanina po, we have I will share a little bit that I am nag-attend po ng 3 days, one of the parang staff po sa 3-day ceremony po na nag-lecture po together with my elder. And I'm so, na may na-follow up po kami na hindi nakapag-success, ganyan. Tapos sinabi, how that could be, parang kasarap or bakit nag-invade, ganun. Tapos I realized that they didn't know what God really is. Because if they really know or naintindihan nila talaga po yung kung anong gusto ni God, hindi na po talaga sila mag-invade. Kasi mas focus po sila sana sa kung ano yung mafe-feel ni God pag nag-invade sila. So, therefore po, I was realizing for this new generation or the youth for today that there's so many members of LGBTQ, members of any teenage pregnancies or social problems nowadays that never knows God. Kaya po, I realize po na we know that what is the main purpose why God ano ginawa yung tao. It is because he wants that his children will feel his heart. And I'm so one of guilt that is in me, because if I have this kind of heart po talaga na never, or parang binaliwala po na talaga, kahit alam ko na binabaliwala ko pa din kasi gusto ko pong self-centered happiness. And I'm so eager, or have this courage that to overcome all those parang nakasanayan po na baliktarin kung ano po dapat talaga yung gawin para lang maging masaya si God. Kasi di naman talaga dapat ma-blame pa kung sino, kasi nagawa na naman po. Pero we have this chance to change what is in the history, and we change it in the future. Para po talaga na yung future generation po they will just give the love that God deserve. Kasi po, we are here, the present po, will have this knowledge to educate the next generation po to overcome all the struggles that they facing in the future po. Yun lang po. Thank you so much.
So much, Ate Christinette. Yeah, I think Ate Christinette has a lot of, it's very wonderful. Yeah, hearing about her collection. Yes. Of course, so before also, I also try to be, as you said, that you also try to join become the staff of 3 days. Yeah, having, of course, some of our, yeah, we're trying to help in that way. But of course, when we really look at this, what was happening, yeah, of course, especially at this time, that one of the problem actually, not only on the Philippines, actually all over the world, yeah, especially is for the a lot of people are practicing for the physics. So that's how we could be able. That's why we are so lucky to know the divine principle, right? That our heavenly parents and true parents really, actually, they just only, they really give it to us. But how we could be able to really deeply understand, as Christine had said, that how we could be able also to understand God's heart. Yung as in yung, yeah, deeper understanding in, especially at this time that, we are, living at this era, of course. Thank you once again, Ate Christine, for that. And nag-volunteer si Junami. So, yes. We also want to hear your reflection. So, let's welcome Junami.
Good evening, brothers and sisters and lecturers. Sorry po, hindi ko po ma-open yung video ko kasi up until now, namamaga pa rin po yung pisngi ko. But for the lecture, this chapter, Human Fall, nagtitrigger po to siya sa akin nung 7 days. I mean, I am keep questioning things about the apple, the tree. I mean, I have this wild questions that I really want to have a definite that kanang para masasatisfy po ako sa answer. And um, knowing that um, love is very powerful. I mean, God is love. So, um, these days po, there are, I mean, prominent um, unprincipled love. I mean, teenager nowadays tend to misinterpret what really love is. And um, I am also questioning myself that how can I give love without knowing what love is really meant to be. And um, knowing and understanding this human fall gives me the answer that um, love is, the center of all the questions around me is love. And one of my elders words really um, bury in myself and in my mind that the three C's, um, sabi po niya may tatlong C's na hindi ko dapat gawin, which is I must not compete, I must not complain, and I must not um, compare. Kasi yun po yung start ng fall, which is um, Lucifer. Parang nagko-compete po siya, why God, parang feeling po niya is na lack of love siya, which is hanggang ngayon, ganun pa rin po yung mga tao. Like, they are complaining, competing about how he or she loved him, her, and gusto ko pong parang i-imply sa sarili ko po na I must not complain, compare, and compete to others because they are my brothers and sisters. And I want to really become a embodiment of God, which nurtures God's desire, and and of course, um, the most um, I mean, parang ngayon ko lang din po parang na-imply sa sarili ko na need po pala talagang mag-report para mas mag-guide tayo ng mas may alam po. Kasi like hanggang ngayon, um, pag sinabi po natin yung mga questions or something problems na nagdidebug sa sarili natin to another person, parang baka mas mag-guide ka nila in the wrong way, which is hindi nakaka-help para sa'yo na mag-grow. Kasi all of us are still ignorant and may lack. So, I am just thankful enough that I have this wonderful and amazing people around me. And sana po lahat ng mga future generations is mag-guide po about what this principle really mean and how God really loves us. So, yun lang po. At thank you po. Good evening po.
Thank you once again, Ms. Junimay. Yes, as she said that how much the importance of reporting actually. Sabi nga ni, as I remember, Doctor, you also mentioned about it that how much important the reporting. Of course, reporting, kailangan daw meron tayong, I think some of them remember that we have the artistic able that we have. Of course, kung sino yung pwede nating, we can report, of course, our leaders, spiritual parents, so that they could help us in a way that kung ano man yung what we have inside. And also, of course, if you really want it, you can also really repent and really report to God. Yeah, Heavenly Parent. Yeah. I think thank you once again, Ate Gina May. And for that, I think meron dalawa pa yata. in that time. So I wanted to hear, yeah, we wanted to hear the reflections from Ate Josephine Carlos. Yes, welcome, Ate Josephine.
Sila ba? Good evening, everyone. My reflections. Yeah. Wow. Human being inherited Satan's lineage. Narinig ba ako? When God said, do not eat what is that God said not to eat. The tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of God, good and evil in the Garden of Eden refer to Adam and Eve. The, the, The tree of knowledge of good and evil refers to immature evil's lab and one step farther to hear reproductive organ. The pill was the mystery of the reproductive organs. It's resulted in changing the bride and groom in his partner of love. That is what humanity brought up about the fall, but the archangel who was created as a servant raped the Lord's daughter, and that became the origin of the fall. In the Gospel of John 8:44, Jesus reports the not believers by simply stating, "You are from your father, the devil, and you choose do your father desire." Jesus hated that the ancestor of humankind is the devil Satan. It is the cause of all misfortune. The human ancestor inherited Satan's lineage. Ah, uh, nag, yun pa, ah, hindi sumunod si Adam and Eve sa pinag-uutos ng God, kaya nagkaroon ng human being inherited Satan's lineage. Sabi nga, we are not giving a good life or bad life. We're giving a life, it's up to us. Can be good or bad. Kaya, one day, we will be just a memory for some people. So, let's do our best to be a good one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ate Josephine,
Nagbasa lang. Nagbasa
for the
lang.
reflection. So you learned something, yeah. And yeah, last one. Ate, isa na lang, di ba ba? Yeah, Ate Anna May Lumahan. Tama ba, Ate Anna May? Let's welcome Ate Anna May.
Good evening po. Sorry, hindi ko po ma-open yung cam ko po. With my reflection po about the fall, I have realized that illicit sexual love is rampant in our society, especially sa lugar po namin ngayon. Maraming bata po uneducated po about this, and then I felt guilt for myself for not being able to tell them about this because the environment is very harsh. Totoo. And yun, makikita ko po sa kanilang mata nga parang wala po silang alam, to the point that they ma-adapt din po ng iba. Parang life running in circles po. Paulit-ulit lang nangyayari. And I'm very much thankful for this movement for teaching us and para po ma-educate yung ibang kabataan at para po maiwasan na po yung gantong gawain. Yun lang ma'am po. Good evening po.
Again, thank you once again, Ate Anna May. Yeah, I think everyone already gave the reflection. Meron pa bang haligtaan din? I think some of them are watching in YouTube, but I hope, yeah, please don't forget the reflection that they will be sent to Ate Unina. But as of now, yeah, I think still have the question. Pero yeah, I think may question pa dito eh. But of course, yeah, as we learn today, may gusto ko ba sabihin, Kuya Herwin? Is there any? Yeah, before.
Let's ask Sir Randy. Okay.
Okay.
Sir?
Yeah. Okay, let's welcome Sir Randy for the additional. Yes, of course. That's for tonight.
Hello, good evening everybody. So plus additional, di ba plus? So anyway, if we will come to look back or to ano ba yun? Go back to the topic that was discussed from section 1 to section 3, we can see that almost all the things that we have learned before is totally opposite. And what I can say is 100% different from what had happened in the Garden of Eden. Does it make sense? Diba? Kasi kung titignan natin, many of us, most especially as Christian, we always believe that the fruit that they eat is really we can say it's something kind of a fruit. And if we will try to ask, tanungin natin yung mga pastors, mga ministers, mga pari, kung ano ba talaga yung, bakit nga ba prutas? At kung talagang namatay sila, bakit nabuhay pa sila ng 900 years after they ate the fruit? And the saddest thing is, nobody can give a clear answer. Have you tried to ask your priest, your pastor? Kasi lagi nila sinasabi, di ba? Kasi sabi naman niya sa Bible, once you will eat the fruit, you will surely die. But the question is, did they die after? And it's very clear from the Bible that they did not die, but they live longer and they have children after that. Okay. Pero what was being driven to us is they ate a fruit that caused the fall of human being. Na hanggang sa ngayon, we cannot question, or we are not even try to question, because once you will question it, they will say you are against the truth itself, right? Actually, ganun din ang pagkakalam ko before, but nung nasa seminary na ako and studying biblical theology and even Christian history, doon ko na ang dami pala talaga yung miseducation na binigay sa atin. Misunderstanding na binigay sa atin. Misconception na binigay sa atin. Most especially when I was in Iloilo giving lecture to a priest na siya yung unang nag-challenge sa Vatican to promote the married priests. Siya mismo nagsabi na these are the things that cannot be, walang clear explanation ang mga priests at mga pare. Because even they themselves, they are not being given such a clear explanation of how to explain it to the people. So, ano ibig sabihin nito? Okay. Ibig sabihin nito, sad to say, majority of what we know, kaya nga, kung titignan natin, even Father said, na once you will study the principle, you have to disconnect yourself from the past and then start a new beginning. And even Jesus Christ said, a new wine must be put into a new wineskin. Okay? So ibig sabihin, hindi natin pwedeng paghaluin. Hindi natin pwedeng i-compare yung natutunan natin from the New Testament and then i-compare it with the divine principle. Why? Because this is another expression in another time and another presentation and also an actual presentation of how we can really substantialize God's purpose and God's plan. Kaya kung titignan nyo, the Bible talks about stories. Right? The 66 books of the Bible is full of stories that will lead us towards a better understanding of how we should practice our life. But the principle talks about how we can substantialize what is the content or the main point of the 66 books of the Bible that is being concluded into 2 commandments. And those 2 commandments is, sabi nga ni Jesus Christ, love you God above all and love your neighbor as you love yourself. Meron pa bang ibang conclusion ang 66 books of the Bible except that? Na from there, nandoon na lahat ng mga guidance si Jesus Christ so that we can enter the kingdom of heaven by practicing that. And ultimately, Jesus said, okay, you must be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. So with that, we can clearly understand that what had happened in the Bible, what had happened in the Garden of Eden, okay, most especially in terms of the root cause of the failure of Adam and Eve, it is not just simply eating the fruit, but it is a what? It is a misexpression of our love. Now, instead of expression towards response to God's purpose and God's plan, okay, we followed the lie of Satan, leading us towards creating an environment wherein we are not happy to live in. Right? Kaya mula noon hanggang ngayon, ang love na pinapasa sa atin is not an eternal love, but it is always a conditional love. Diba? Even nga sa mga churches, they are promoting walang forever. Pero kung titignan natin, diba? Pag nag-attend kayo ng kasal, ano yung sinasabi? Ang pinagsama ng Diyos kailanman hindi mapaghiwalay ni naman kahit na kamatayan. Pero pag mangako ang mag-asawa, in sickness and good health, in richer and poorer. And then, the final pronouncement is, till death do us part. But the sad reality is, hindi pa nga namamatay, napapalitan na. Tama ba? Kaya kung titignan natin, it is a misunderstanding, misconception of what is love. We always associate love with our carnal desire or our physical desire. Kaya nga, kung titignan natin section 3 talks about the value of understanding the principle plus the commandment of God so that we can stop the urge of misusing once again the most important part of our body that will create our lineage. And that is no other than our sexual organ. Na sad to say ngayon, it is being misunderstood and nawawala na ng value. Diba? Sad to say, ang daming lalaki nagpupumilit maging babae. At ang daming babae nagpupumilit maging lalaki. Right? And lagi pang pinuprove na that is also God's plan. They wanted to justify that is really the truth. Okay? Parang yun yung end point ng development of human being to change gender. Kasi nga sinasabi na gender is just a part of our being. Pero actually, it's not just a part of our being, but it will determine what kind of future do we have. Kaya ganun na lang siya kaimportante. Kaya kung titignan natin, yun lang yung parte ng katawan natin na may dalawang covering. Meron pa bang iba? And it's very clear also from the Bible that the root cause is really misusing the sexual organ, because after they ate the fruit, instead of covering their mouth, what they have covered is no other than their sexual organ. Okay, what do we need to do now? We needed to balance everything. Going back to understanding God's principle, God's plan, and most especially God's purpose why He had created us. And from there, we can start a new beginning. We can start a new dimension of our life, not with Satan, but together with God. And this is what we wanted, because nobody wanted to suffer. Nobody wanted to experience pain and difficulty. Is there anybody? Meron ba dito yung nagpa-pray na sana bukas maging malungkot ako? Meron ba dito yung nagsabi na nagpa-pray na sana bukas masaktan ako? Di ba? So walang ganon. So what we always wanted is to experience God's love and God's presence. And in order for us to do that, we have to do the same and multiply the same thing. So with that, brothers and sisters, I hope na we can really understand how important understanding God's plan and God's purpose, most especially in terms of the reason why we became sinful, so that we can start a new beginning, and then we can start a new journey into our life, not together with Satan, but together with God. So I hope now with that we can change our focus, and then we can really put a new wine into a new wine skin. We cannot mix the old tradition with the new tradition, because we are now living in a new era. Magandang gabi po sa inyo.
Yes. Thank you once again, Sir Randy, for that. Let's give a big round of applause to Sir Randy. Thank you for that powerful message that we received for tonight. We really hope that all of us, of course, could really able to learn something. Yes, for tonight, for the chapter 2 that we have. Actually, may question pa po dito pero I think maybe we can just compile, and then especially si Ate Christinette, she still have 2 questions here, but we having
You
already
can
10.
compile it para we can
Opo.
discuss sa
Yes
Friday
po.
na.
Yes po. I already
Pero
sent
ano
to
ba?
that.
Basahin mo na lang din para at least meron silang idea.
Okay, sabi po niya dito, wait. Asan na may una? What will happen to those people who knows the divine principle but nag-fall pa rin? And there's a follow-up question pa rin po. Is they have the chance to be part of the movement if ever po na bumalik sila. So, yun lang po yung ano niya. I think that's
Sabi ni Father is once you commit sin after, you are worse than Satan. Pero lagi rin sinasabi ni Father that always God is always waiting for His children to go back home. And when I became part of the Pure Love Alliance 1997, we always have that, there is always a second chance. Pero sabi nga ni Father, priority is those people who don't know first the principle. Kasi kung tutusin nga natin, last na marirestore si Satan. Because for those people who commit sin as well, it's not easy for them to go back. They needed a lot of courage, they needed a lot of strength before they can start all over again. Kaya it's not the movement who will say if they will go back or not. It is they themselves. If they truly understand, they can go back, and God is always willing. Pero they needed to set multiple conditions as well. Yeah.
answer. Ate Questionette, Thank you once again to our brothers and sisters for
Thank you so much po.
But before we conclude our may I invite Ate Sylvia to do the closing prayer?
Okay, brothers and sisters and elders and our leaders, let us all pray. Good evening to you, our most loving heavenly parents and betrothed parents, the parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. We are truly grateful today with this opportunity that you have given us, that we're gathered once again as brothers and sisters who had been trying to listen and study and really understand more about your will and your heart. We are now very fortunate because all these things that we had been hearing and trying to reinvent with together with everyone does come from you, and it is through our true parents that we have had this opportunity. So in unison we would like also to express gratitude and recognition to the hard works of our true parents. And as we are all very fortunate because of the hard works of our ancestors, we are committing ourselves to try our utmost to really fulfill our respect responsibility and somehow make you happier, become your true object partner of your joy, return beauty to you, heavenly parents, by fulfilling our individual responsibilities. But we also have to recognize, heavenly parents, that we couldn't have done this all by our own strength, but rather we wanted to implore for your divine intervention, heavenly parents, with your blessing, that along the way we can really be able to carry this out victoriously. And we are grateful also to our leaders and our mentors, heavenly parents, who have been there together with our true parents, trying hard to really be aligned and be keeping a vertical relationship with you, heavenly parents, that is also guiding our brothers and sisters. And all of us can truly create a great stride towards the realization of your will, heavenly parents. I humbly seek then that may you can truly use us all as your true working instrument and true working mouthpiece, and become a true usher towards ending the era of the sinful history, but rather really usher a good time, heavenly parents, and that the good time of goodness can really start in our generation, heavenly parents, through together with our true parents. Thank you so much for this moment once again, for having us, giving us good health, for protecting our true parents, our true mother most especially, that despite her old age, she had been working so hard still and committed herself to really establish her whole holy community. As we are all been born during her time, we can always be able to value this very urgent time, heavenly parents, that we are born during together with them, and we can truly be able to contribute to heavenly parents in this particular era. um, Once again, together with brothers and sisters, I would like to humbly report all these things to you in humility and gratitude. In my name, so be the present of this family, this I pray. Andrew.
Aju, thank you so much for tonight, brothers and sisters, and also announcement, of course. Please don't forget your written reflection to please send to Ate Monina. Yes, yeah, actually she's waiting every time. That's why. And yeah, thank you once again to our brothers and sisters who attended for tonight DT lectures. And yes, really hope that we could really see you again to the next section that we are going to study. Thank you, brothers and sisters, and have a good night.